We've been watching media reports today cheering the latest numbers on the economy. We all want some good news, but there's one big detail that many aren't sharing. All right, let's start with the headline. The nation's gross domestic product grew at an annual pace of 1.7% from April to June. That is double what experts predicted. But what the numbers doesn't show is that Washington has actually changed the way it calculates GDP. The new accounting creating nearly $500 million of value you can't see, you can't hold, you can't touch it, you can't measure it. They're calling this the knowledge economy. Melissa Francis is anchor of Money with Melissa Francis on the Fox Business Network, so she tipped us off to this story.
Yeah.
We're also going to bring in Matt McCall, president of Penn Financial Group, and Christian Dorsey is director of external and government affairs for the Economic Policy Institute. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
All right, Melissa, we'll start with you because you looked behind the numbers and were able to tell us there's something here people need to know about. Explain what this is.
Yeah, they totally changed the way that they calculate GDP. And like you said, it's adding about $500 billion, $500 billion to the economy around the country. They're counting things like in entertainment. Revenue from a television show that might go into syndication in the future, that potential that's out there. They're counting things like the interest on unfunded pensions. So that means in Detroit, for example, where they're probably never going to pay out that pension and the money doesn't exist because it wasn't funded, they're counting the interest on that. That means that the savings rate went up to 5.6% in 2012, personal savings, from 4.1%, except for, don't forget, nothing was saved because it's unfunded. It's insane. I mean, it really juiced the number a lot higher, which looks good, but isn't a reality. And by the way, 1.7% is not good. We need to grow at about 3% in order to add back all of the jobs that we've lost, at least, if not 4%. So it's not even a good number, and I don't feel like it's a real number.
All right, Christian, Melissa used the word crazy or insane for this, but is it legal?
Christian's laughing.
Is it? Yeah,
well,
everybody's laughing a little bit, but is it legal? Is it okay to do this?
Well, you know, this has been the product of decades-long interest and study in determining how to actually capture the knowledge economy as part of our gross domestic product. But, you know, with all due respect, that's not really the key issue. Whether the number is 1.7% or 1.3%, Melissa hit at the key figure. This is not sufficient enough growth to get our economy where it needs to go. And a substantial reason it's lower than it ought to be is because we now have federal austerity programs which are dragging an otherwise growing private economy. In fact, government is actually doing harm to this recovery, and that to me is the key story.
Well, and how so?
Well, what we have is government austerity, which has done some very direct things. It's cut back in government spending. That has shaved growth off of GDP to a point of about 0.1%. We've also had the expiration of unemployment insurance benefits. We've also had the expiration of the payroll tax cut, which has cut overall economic growth. If you take those things into account, if those things had not occurred, we'd have about 4 million more jobs in the economy right now. Austerity at the state and federal level has basically caused about half of the jobs gap that we have right now. That, to me, is the key story.
All right, Matt, I want to bring you in here. You know, we got this news that was double what we expected. We expected maybe 0.9%. So a lot of people, I mean, all of us want to have cause for celebration. We all want to feel like the economy is turning around. Is this number giving Americans a false picture of where we're really headed? Or where we are now?
Yeah, unfortunately, it is giving us a false picture because take a look back at just the last quarter. You know, prior to today, we thought the first quarter grew at 1.8%. We now found out after being revised down, it grew at 1.1%. Go back one more quarter to the fourth quarter. We only grew at 0.1%. So let's take a look at this in the big picture. We're going in the wrong direction. So this 1.7%, that's not even a good number, as Melissa alluded to, was probably going to be revised down in the next few months. And look at the first year of the recovery, 2009 to 2010. We had a robust growth. Since then, we've been going sideways. Typically, 4 years after a major recession, we should see major growth, 3 to 4%, to get the economy going. We're not seeing it, and again, we're going in the wrong direction.
And Melissa, you've made some notes also about consumer spending and housing prices. What do they tell us a little bit more, a fuller picture of where we are?
No, absolutely. I mean, consumer spending rose at a rate of 1.8%. That is slower than last quarter. It was 2.3%. This accounts for two-thirds of the demand in the economy. So it shows the consumer is worried. They're spending less because they don't see things getting better. That's not helpful. Housing